Hello, I'm Elaine Stevens, and I want to welcome you to Artbeat. True art consists of spreading wide the intervals so that the imagination may fill the space between the trees. That was written by Walter Anderson. I am standing in the community center, which he painted many years ago, for a mere $1. A mere $1. And today we were told that these murals are worth over $30 million. This is a world you're going to enter into for the next half an hour with Artbeat, where art is the heartbeat of Ocean Springs, and you're going to see and hear about a passionate artist, Walter Inglis Anderson, right here at the Walter Anderson Museum of Art. Stay with us. Welcome back to Artbeat, and my guest today is Doug Myatt, at least one of my guests. I hope we get to interview Michaela as well. Well, I was exposed to the lost murals of Walter Anderson at the IP Casino, where I work, and we did have a big gala there, but I actually noticed very large murals, Doug. I mean, they were more than life-size, and these to me are not quite murals. So can you kind of explain the terminology?
Sure. When Walter and his wife Sissy lived at Oldfields, it was the family home in Gaucher, he was enamored with the white plaster walls. It's a very old home, 1840 home. And his father-in-law said, "You're not going to paint on my walls." But to Walter, they were the perfect blank canvas. So he got around the problem by using these large sheets of charcoal paper, thumbtacking them to the wall.
Wow.
So he could change it out as he was inspired. These in the main gallery are of New Orleans. In the other galleries, they're of the Oldfields farm.
Let's take a stroll as we're discussing this. Now, he was inspired by New Orleans, no doubt.
He spent a lot of time there.
Yeah, and do we know what he did there besides paint?
We know he got arrested there.
Did he really? Tell me about that.
He was drawing on the street, and the policeman became suspicious and thought maybe he was a spy.
Oh, you're kidding me.
It was during World War II.
He was extremely eccentric, wasn't he?
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed. He ended up spending at least a night in jail.
Oh, wow.
Because he didn't have his draft card with him. He didn't have any identification with him. So someone had to come from Ocean Springs to New Orleans, come back over to get a new draft card to get him out of jail.
Well, you know, Walter Anderson has added so much wonderful charm and color to our area. I'm sure there are many secrets surrounding his artistic and otherwise sort of private life.
His exploits, yes.
His exploits. But more about the exhibit here. How long will it be here?
It's here until the end of June. Actually, till July.
And how many pieces are in the entire exhibit?
I don't remember exactly. I think we framed 88 or 90.
It's pretty mammoth. I mean, when you look around, you know, then there's so many colors. And give us an idea of some of the subject matter as you interpret it.
Well, this is sort of an homage to farm life.
Right.
And of course, you can see how the repetition and the lyrical patterns that are used. This is almost like music, visual music. This is actually going to be the first of 3 shows that we're calling Lost Murals because he did several series. This one is focused on New Orleans architecture and on the farm and life at Oldfields. The next one will be primarily literary interpretations. Milton's Paradise Lost.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
The Voyage of the Beagle with Darwin.
Wow. Yes.
Lots of different literary interpretations, so it's going to be exciting.
Very exciting. Now, the end of this one is June 30th, so give me an idea what the timeline is on the other 2. Do you have any idea?
The next one opens in January.
Okay. So we're going to have a 6-month spread before? Okay.
We have 2 shows intervening.
Now, this may be a dumb question, but who's got the lost murals? I mean, who do they belong to?
They belong to the family.
They have the family. And where were they lost?
Well, they're lost because he didn't actually paint them on the wall. So once they came down, they got put away, and nobody saw them again. Out of all of these, I would say probably 6 or 8 have been shown before. Most of these have never been shown.
Well, I have to tell you, Walter Anderson probably is the best PR person for himself that I've ever seen. He's not even alive anymore, but what he does is he ekes out this work sporadically over a period of time, you know, and it just garners all this interest for the public all over the world, not
That's
just
true.
in Mississippi.
We get visitors from everywhere.
You do. And how popular has this exhibit been?
People really enjoy it because Walter's general medium was the 8.5 by 11 typing paper. And these 25 by 19 pieces are so much bigger. People aren't used to seeing them. So it's a different side of Walter.
Yeah, I would like to specifically, are there any parts of the exhibit that are your favorite?
I like the futuristic
Is
architecture.
that here? What part of the...
It's in the East Gallery.
It's in the East Gallery. Maybe we should take a walk over there and
Sure.
take a look at that. Okay.
Okay.
The future, huh?
I call it sort of the Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon period of Walter's work.
Well, I do believe that he was a tad psychic, so I think we're going to take a quick break and we're going to go to the future right after this. Wow, I never took a commercial segment and then came back into the future, but here we are. We're back with Art Beat, and we're, as Douglas would put it, we're in the future of New Orleans, right?
We really think that this is probably a futuristic New Orleans because of the pelican on the building.
Now, wait a minute. Why the pelican? Because Louisiana and the
Louisiana
pelicans?
and the
Okay,
pelican.
gotcha. Well, we have pelicans too.
Oh, I know. But during this time, this is all the same palette that he was using for
I
the
see.
New Orleans pieces. But we really don't know the story behind these. And we would love for someone to tell us exactly what they are, but I just think they're really fun.
Is there someone who could speculate? I mean...
Well, his son John speculates.
Yeah.
He thinks that he thought that Walter might have envisioned a day when New Orleans would need to be rebuilt. Think Katrina.
Wow.
So maybe he was planning for the rebuilding of New Orleans. We just really don't know.
You know, that's pretty much in line with the story of the Mississippi Room, which we'll visit later on in the show, but I hear that he did have sort of a psychic type of feeling about life in many ways. And
He was very connected to nature.
he was very connected to nature, yeah.
Everything around him.
And even enjoyed hurricanes, as I understand it.
Lashed himself to a tree to experience Hurricane Betsy.
And even from what I understand, because I used to visit the house, the old house here in Ocean Springs, before everything was created here at the museum.
Right.
So I saw the original place where he created his work. I was very fortunate to do that. And I heard stories of him actually going out on his small boat, his small skiff, and with the fusion of lightning and wind and all sorts of things, actually made glass out of the sand.
Oh, yes. All sorts of beach glass, things like that. Yeah, definitely.
Can you tell I'm fascinated? I tell you what, there's so much mystery surrounding this man. But now, Mrs. Anderson probably had a hard time.
It wasn't an easy life, I would say.
Yeah, it was not an easy life.
But she did a great job with raising the kids and making home happy. And the children will tell you, they enjoyed growing up. They enjoyed their childhood.
And of course, the legacy lives on because there's so much art in this community with the Anderson name attached to it.
Right.
Pottery and dance and all sorts of things
You name
that
it.
continue with the Anderson name.
Grandchildren, great-grandchildren are
Yes.
very talented.
And the DNA of art is running through their veins.
There's
it's
something in the water out at
totally,
Shearwater.
yeah, the Shearwater. Well, now, the futuristic aspects of this part of the exhibit, which happens to be your favorite, do you think all of this is a focus on New Orleans?
I really don't know. Who
Yeah,
can
we'll
say?
take a look at each one. But he seems to really like the height and breadth of some of these buildings.
We're really
doesn't he?
looking up at these buildings, so we just really don't know. Like the one right behind you reminds me of a minaret.
Yeah.
So we just don't know.
Well, you know what I'm amazed at, and is that this man was such a dynamo of energy and eccentricity and a very avant-garde behavior, and yet his palette is very pastel.
This period, he was in the hospital for about 3 years, from 37 to 40. And when he came out of the hospital, he really went back to using pencil and paper. And after he drew for a while, he started painting again. And when he started painting again, it was the primary colors. And that's very characteristic of everything from this period, from about 1940 to 1946, 47, when he moved back over to Ocean Springs from Gaucher. So this really helps us date the pieces. We know they came from that
Yes,
period because of
I'm
the
sure.
palette that's used.
Now, was he doing pottery in between all this, or was he, sort of?
In fact, he built his own kiln when they lived at Oldfields, and that's where he designed a series of figurines called the Oldfields Figures.
Yes, I've seen
And there's a plowman, and there's a boat captain, and there's all sorts of cows and chickens and guineas that all go along with it. He was still creating.
Well, you know, it's the work itself has very powerful structures in it, but with a delicate portrayal of them, and
Very
it's
much.
certainly not. I mean, it's macho blend with the feminine almost. You know, it has a wonderful flavor to it.
The halos that he has around the
Yeah.
buildings are echoed in the watercolors of the children swimming on the pier at Old Fields that are in the West Gallery. You see those auras around the people.
Well, I think we should take a look at some of the pottery. What do
Okay.
you think? Why don't we take a short break? We'll come back right after this. We're going to look at the Walter Anderson pottery, which is world famous.
Okay.
And here we are with Artbeat again, and the world of Walter Anderson. I should say it's the universe, because he's so expansive, isn't he?
It's appropriate you said the world of Walter Anderson, because that was the name of the show that he had at the Brooks
Wow.
Gallery in Memphis when the cow made its debut.
Oh, and I love that cow, which Doug has affectionately named Betsy the cow, but we really don't have an official name. But he was carved or created in the late 40s, early 50s.
Probably 48 or 49, and there was a whole series of animals.
Now, even though I'm not permitted to touch a lot of this because I'm a tad accident prone, and God knows what would happen if I broke one of these, but from the mundane to the exotic, I mean, that is what Walter Anderson is really all about. And you see this rockin' duck over here, which I'm certainly not allowed to touch because it does have a bit of a rock to it, but to an Egyptian head. What do you allow for the variance in all of his inspirations? I mean, how did he come up with this?
He was extremely well educated.
Really?
Even when he left art school, he continued to educate himself. He read constantly. He taught himself Spanish so that he could read Don Quixote in the original. So he really was influenced by everything. From the cave paintings in the south of France he went to Costa Rica, he went to China, he studied Egyptian and Greek art. So he has influences from all over the world.
Wow.
And we see them reflected. This is Allison. It was a young man that worked for the family.
Wow.
But he definitely
it's
has an
so
Egyptian.
beautiful. Yes, quite Egyptian. Now, of course, the cat at the other end of the table over there is much more of a Walter Anderson look that we've seen, that we've become familiar
what we
with here in
expect.
Ocean Springs.
Right.
So is there a period for that?
They were designed, if I'm not wrong, in 28 or 29, when he first came back and went to work with the pottery.
So
That
that's
is-
indicative of some of the nature items that you were talking to
Right.
me about, because he really did love animals.
Oh, he did.
And he loved animals dead or alive, as I understand it, because I know some of his paintings actually were of some of the creatures he
Right.
found on the beaches that had passed on.
He was honoring them. He celebrated their lives by portraying them after they passed.
Remarkable. Now, I see a work here that you have pointed out, and we'll get a real close shot of it later on, but it has an Art Deco feel to it.
Right. That one we really think is from about 27 or 28. Very early. Shearwater opened for business in 28. So it's an extremely early piece. It's a very odd palette for him on pottery. I've only seen probably 3 or 4 other pieces using the same glazes.
Yeah, and the colors are a little different for him, too. aren't
very
they?
much.
Yeah, very much so. Now, this piece here has a very oriental flavor to it.
Yeah, it's called Sea, Earth, Sky, and I don't know how well you can see it, but the bottom shows the fish swimming in the sea, and the hunter on the horseback, and the bowman, and then the birds flying overhead. It's from a pot that his brother Peter, who was of course the potter at Shearwater,
Of course.
he threw the pot, and then Walter did the carving and created the mold from there.
It's a family effort, has been all along, hasn't
Oh,
it?
very much.
Now, this one is a little more modern.
Yes, but I think
Looks like
it's
a
very
dance to
early.
me.
You know, I think it looks like Keith Haring. I
See
always
if I
think
can
of,
move it so that we can maybe get a shot of it.
but we do call it the Dancing Man vase.
There you go. I didn't even know that.
It looks like Keith Haring's work to me, artist from the early 80s
So
in New York.
obviously he couldn't imitate that, but he sort of even predicted that too.
I think so. I'm convinced Keith Haring saw Walter's work somewhere along
He
the
was
way.
channeling it, yeah, something. But now the table that we're looking at, another piece by Walter Anderson. People don't usually think of him as a furniture maker, but
He worked in almost every medium you can think of.
yes, and we're going to be looking at a couple of pieces throughout the show. I know that we've got some shots of the table with the birds on it, and that was
Right.
done in the 30s, as you said, and this one was done around the same period of
Right.
time as well. But intricately so.
Oh,
like
definitely.
the carving. And so do we know what kind of tools he used to do this?
I don't know.
I know.
That's
I
a
can't
very good
imagine. I mean,
question.
look at the precision and also the symmetry of it. And all,
I'm sure the
you know.
family could tell me. I just don't know the answer to that.
Y'all told me this was a pretty heavy table to
Yeah,
move.
it's cypress, and it's like a stone.
Yeah.
The Blue Jay table, the top is one piece of wood, and that it's an enormous board.
And that one used to be in the cottage, wasn't it?
It was in the cottage that
Yeah.
he was furnishing the cottage for his new wife, Sissy. They married in '33, I believe.
Now, I found it fascinating that the father-in-law said, "No way will that crazy old painter have any murals done in my house."
Right.
But did he ever change his mind about that?
Nope, he never did.
So, remarkably intelligent man, but yet a little bit eccentric and difficult to live with human beings, but he lived well in his own world of art and inanimate objects and that kind of
He met the world on his own terms.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Well, I know that a lot of people like to come through this gallery and shop, which is Michaela's and my favorite experiences. So I'm going to interview Michaela Brown right after this break. Wow, a little birdie is speaking to us. And here is Michaela Brown. She's really part of the world I know of Walter Anderson because we worked very closely together in producing the gala at the IP in April.
Which was wonderful.
Quite successful, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Amazing. But we're standing in the gift shop at the museum, and it is a veritable world of gifts that you could buy for any member of your family at all prices, all types of things, including pottery and jewelry and books. Just amazing. What are some of your best sellers here?
I myself, as I've told you, am a fan of Laura Lawler Blanchard. She does great, fun earrings, and she's a local Ocean Springs artist.
Let's hold those up if we can. Okay.
Oh, those are some
I think I'm going to
favorites.
buy these, Phil.
And I actually have these in gold, handmade. She's a wonderful person, a real gift to our gift shop, and a popular gift for the ladies.
Well, it's so wonderful because even our photographer has stuff that he could buy here. It's not just girly girl stuff.
Oh no, absolutely not.
There are T-shirts of Walter Anderson Museum and all sorts of jewelry. But of course, the fascination that I have here is with some of the pottery because there's always sort of a Walter Anderson feeling about a lot of the work that's in here, but there's an obvious reason why. Some of it does come from his relatives,
absolutely.
right?
We have the piece on our left here is Matt Stebley, and he is actually Walter's great-grandson. We sell several of his prints, and he also decorates pottery, much like Walter did, and we have some of those pieces here as well. Leaf Anderson, Walter's daughter, we sell her prints of her brush and ink drawings.
Very delicate. And obviously, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a bird, a branch, and two cats, but it's very delicate. And of course, a lot of us down here on the coast know Leaf from her dancing, her interpretive
absolutely.
dancing.
And I feel that you can tell she's a dancer.
She is. It's very graceful.
Her brush and ink
I
strokes.
saw her do the Isadora dance many months before the hurricane took the house, where we did it on the beach over there. Yeah, it was just beautiful.
Wonderful.
Just magnificent. There's one thing I really think that the public would really be interested in is this birthday book, and that is because inside of it, each month has a Walter Anderson print. In it.
The dated prints, I know a lot of people on the coast are familiar with these, but this is simply a book for you to record people's birthdays so that you don't forget. And this is March, and this is one of his calendar prints from March 18th.
And some are black and white and some are color, right? Okay, we're going back towards October, and you can see that. The colors are absolutely beautiful.
Oh yes, this is a wonderful gift.
So from stuffed animals to jewelry to, and actually other artists are represented here. I recognize the work of my dear friend Gail Clark.
Oh, absolutely.
Some
Gail
of her
is
pieces.
always popular in Ocean Springs.
But if we could see this is truly an Anderson-inspired piece. And it almost looks like some of the things we've been seeing in the museum.
Absolutely. It reminds me of a block print.
It's beautiful. It does, very much so. But the beauty of this is, regardless of your budget, you can afford to shop here. And believe me, when this show is over, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So we'll be right back right after this message. Doug, I am so excited about entering the secret sanctuary of Walter Anderson because I remember years ago as a child discovering this room myself, got chills, in the house. So do tell about how Mrs. Anderson discovered it.
No one had been in the room while he was alive.
Wow.
And the day of his funeral, she and her sister Patricia went to the cottage and broke the padlock off the door and entered to find this little jewel box.
Oh my goodness.
And one of them exclaimed, it's Psalm 104. It's the 104th
Psalm
Psalm.
104. And how did they discover that?
It depicts the passage of a day on the Mississippi coast from morning with the butterflies all the way around to evening with the moths.
Now, the beauty of this room and the beauty of the ceiling and the walls it's just filled with color, but I was told early on that in it are examples of just about all the flora and fauna of our South Mississippi home.
I'm always finding new little critters.
Are you really?
In fact, there's a spider on the spider web here that I had never noticed.
Oh, I see it,
And
yes.
there are little guys everywhere you look.
Unbelievable.
Almost everything.
Well, the colors are truly amazing. How much restoration needed to be done in order to bring it to its full color here?
Oh, very little.
Very little.
This is pretty much exactly how Walter left it.
Wow, even the original floors.
With the paint drippings. And he never finished the ceiling. I don't know if he passed
Yeah.
or if he just got bored painting those triangles. I don't know.
Now, the fascinating story about Father Mississippi on the fireplace here, can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's modeled on his daughter Mary.
Wow.
That's who we think it's based on.
Mm-hmm.
The branch-like things on her head represent tributaries of the river, and I interpret it as the Mississippi River bringing life to everything here on the Gulf Coast.
So rather than Father Mississippi, we sort of got Mother
we
Mississippi
do.
going on here. Well, at least he was an equal opportunity painter.
Indeed, indeed, he was.
And believed in the soul and beauty of women, I can see as well. Was the chest in here?
The chest was in the room.
No kidding. What
and
was
it
in
was
the chest?
full of drawings and watercolors, thousands
Oh,
of
my.
them.
And have we retrieved them, obviously? And
We have almost all of them.
That's
some have
fantastic.
been sold over the years, of course, but he did 99 drawings of Hamlet. He did, I think, 2,000
Did you
drawings.
say Hamlet?
Hamlet. He would turn the page with his left hand and illustrate with his
Oh,
right.
my.
He did some 2,000 odd drawings of Don Quixote.
So this is going to be part of the literary exhibit, do you think? Oh,
Yes.
wow, part of the Lost Murals
Right.
again. Fascinating. Well, we're in the Mississippi Room, and obviously you almost want to whisper when you're in here, don't you?
It's very, I don't know, almost a religious space.
It is a religious experience, and of course there's Herschel the alligator, which we'll show you, and he sleeps in here all the time.
Every night.
Well, we'll be right back after this message. I am so thrilled to be in here. Thank
Glad you
Dad.
came.
Well, in one door and out the other of the Walter Anderson Museum of Art, all in one day. I've lived a very full life with Walter Anderson and his family and his friends. And you too can do the same kind of thing here, right here in Ocean Springs. Please come down and visit the Walter Anderson Museum of Art, where the exhibit of the Lost Murals is being featured. You will enjoy it and shop at the gift shop. You'll have a tremendously wonderful day. We hope to see you next week on Artbeat. And meanwhile, if you have any ideas about what you would like to see, please email us at wkfk.com and let us know an artist that you would like to see featured right here on Artbeat. See you next time.